I consider myself a pretty healthy person. I eat whole foods, I exercise most days. However, for as long as I can remember, I've loved tasty, sugary treats. I'm not so much a donut or pastry person, but give me something with a crunch and I'm all yours. Salted caramel chocolate, cookies, biscuits, and this kind of food does weird things to me. So I wanted to see if I could quit sugar for 30 days. To set the scene, let's start with the day before the challenge. I was away on a hiking weekend with friends, which involved being fed Nutella off a spoon, and visiting the famous Bakewell tart shop.
My last day of sugar, and I'm in the Bakewell tart shop.
I'd seen other people do this challenge and I wondered, would I be able to do it? Would I notice any improvements?
I've got to be careful not to buy a big one and then have any left over for tomorrow.
I'm going to enjoy my Bakewell tart and let the challenge begin tomorrow. I eat healthy foods most of the time anyway, so surely it wouldn't be that hard. Famous last words. It just seems weird to me that something that tastes so good, how can it be so bad? Let the challenge begin. It's day one. And I don't think I'm going to have too much of a problem today because in the morning I have 3 eggs. However, sometimes I have Worcestershire sauce. I don't have it every day. I just looked at the ingredients list. Sugar in. So this is definitely off the cards for the next month. Okay, so that was one small sugar related problem, but will I encounter any more? For my breakfast most days, I have fish and vegetables, and this is the bit that I found really interesting. This is what I usually have for my breakfast every morning, and I absolutely love it. And I've just realised that this has got 8% demerara sugar in, and I'm absolutely gutted because I love this. I'm going to stick to the project. Good job, I have an emergency batch of sardines. However, lemon peel, lime, water, sugar. 2 tins of plain then it is. So now would be a good time to explain the rules of doing this sugar-free challenge. Sugar is in a lot of foods, obvious things like cookies, ice cream, chocolate. Sugar is also in natural foods like fruit, vegetables and milk. The main rule is not eating foods with added sugar in. So when it's added, sugar will be on the ingredients list. Added sugar is in a lot of processed foods, not just sweet stuff. It's in bread, sauces, salad dressings, nut butters, yogurts, oat milk. It's even in pre-cooked meats and fish. But why is added sugar in all of these foods, and why am I wanting to avoid it during this challenge? I'll come on to that in a minute. This also includes no honey, agave nectar and maple syrup. Despite this kind of stuff being natural, they're pretty much the same as sugar and the body responds in the same way. Is fruit allowed on the challenge? Yes, because the sugar in fruit is natural sugar found within the food along with the fibre, vitamins and minerals, and that makes the body process it more slowly. That said, fruit juice isn't allowed because the sugar has been separated from the food and then it releases quickly into the body. And there's also no sugar alternatives because despite not having the same effect on our blood sugar, they do have a similar effect on our brain, which I'll explain shortly. And this isn't me saying that sugar is bad and that we shouldn't eat it. This is just an experiment that I wanted to do to see if I could do it and how my body responded. And I'm pleased I did do it because what happened really surprised me. The first few days went pretty smoothly. My usual lunches and dinners don't have added sugar in, so it was business as usual. It was always going to go quite well, fueled with hope and optimism and motivation for starting a new challenge. So I think I'm going to be alright for a couple of days because I don't typically eat that much sugar in my day-to-day life. Although this morning's discovery that it was in 2 of my favourite healthy breakfast meals, then that'll be interesting, not eating those and seeing if I get any withdrawals. I managed to find some sugar-free sauces to jazz up my morning scrambled egg. Here we are. Oh wow, that is amazing. I began checking the ingredients list on food. It's got dextrose and sugar. I altered my weekly shop to suit the challenge, making sure this is completely sugar-free. I asked vendors if their food had added sugar in. Do you happen to know if your chicken tikka or your butter chicken has any sugar in it? And found alternatives to the tasty things I'd usually eat. I've had a great week, and on a Friday or a Saturday I like to treat myself, so instead I've gone and got myself a homemade curry from the local market, and I found a way to get my chocolate 100% cocoa, no sugar. I'll only be able to eat a couple of squares. We were off to a flying start. The first week was going well so far. Surely I wouldn't encounter any major problems doing this challenge, would I? Most of us know that eating too much sugary food isn't great for our health, so I'm not going to reel off a list of problems that it causes. Even though I eat whole foods a lot of the time, my issue with sugary foods is once I get a taste for it, I just want more. I step on board the sugar train, choo-choo, and once I'm on it, it's really hard to get off. It feels great when I'm eating it, but half an hour to an hour later, I feel terrible. I feel an intense slump of energy. I get quite a bad headache, and it feels like my brain has been replaced with cotton wool. It feels a little bit like a hangover, actually. And I know there'll be some people who say, well, if it makes you feel ill, don't eat as much of it. And I'd imagine that those are the kind of people who can eat just one biscuit and then put the rest of the packet back in the cupboard. For me, sugar and moderation do not go together. I always think I'm going to be okay because I really want it. I've worked hard this week. I've done loads of exercise. 42 years old, and I still haven't learned. A quick note to say, some of you know that I have ADHD and I take medication for it, which is actually very relevant to doing this challenge. And I've added some notes to the pinned comment about all that stuff. I was never hungry for the calories in sugary food. I was hungry for the taste and the texture, to get that sweet release of pleasure chemicals, but it would only last a short while and then it would leave me feeling like rubbish. And it's interesting because when I look at these definitions, it makes me wonder, was I mildly addicted to sugar? But I don't even eat that much of it, do I? Anyway, I didn't come on to show you that. I come on to show you this. This would normally be straight in the basket. I don't know what it is today, but me and Mum are on a mooch around the shops, and for some reason just finding it a bit tricky to navigate all of the sweet treats. This one is especially difficult. Oh, if I wasn't doing this challenge, I would buy a bag of Pick a Mix today, go home with a big bag of Pick a Mix, and we'd finish watching that film and we'd get all cosy. Oh, I'm winding myself up, we need to get out of the shop. Saturday film night. We've got this fruit and nut platter. It was during this experiment I learned that here in the UK, the average person consumes around 13 teaspoons of added sugar a day, which works out to 20 kilograms of added sugar a year. And I can see how that's easy to do because added sugar is in a lot of food these days. And even with the healthy foods that I was eating on a regular basis, I was having 20 grams of added sugar a day, almost 7.5 kilograms a year, just from these foods. And now I'm going to 0 grams of added sugar a day. What could possibly go wrong? This morning and today is a day where I feel really tired. It's weird because my Whoop is telling me that I'm 90% recovered, but I do not feel 90% recovered. And I think this is where it could start to get a bit tricky. It's days like this where I feel tired that I want that quick fix of a sugary, carby, fatty something. Spoonful of honey. Oh, So instead I've got some new potatoes. It's really not the same. But then, oof, I just had my breakfast, did the washing up, and as I was doing the washing up, I came over really nauseous. My head started hurting a little bit and it went a tiny bit dizzy. My body was going hot and cold as well when I was doing the washing up, which was really weird. Was this me experiencing sugar withdrawals? Surely not. So I googled sugar withdrawal symptoms, and it's saying headaches, nausea, chills and muscle pains.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
That was really weird. It happened fast, it peaked. I don't feel completely back to normal, still feel a bit weird. Maybe it was a coincidence that I was feeling like this, but what happened in the next few days was really interesting. The cravings hit hard, really hard. I really want a delicious, sweet, crunchy snack. I couldn't stop thinking about tasty treats. I would really like a slice of cake. It felt like a physical need for me to have them. I kept going to the kitchen, looking in the cupboards and in the fridge, hoping someone had magically placed a tasty snack in there. And I felt a bit desperate, and which is why, I can't believe I'm going to show you this. I ended up dipping my finger in 100% cocoa powder and licking it off just to get my fix. It works though. What else did I do when I got the cravings? I ate fruit. Found a bit of a hack. Pomegranate seeds, because they're sweet with a crunch. I've just come downstairs to have an emergency apple because I was really hungry and I really want something. What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at you. I've just come down to have an emergency apple.
It is an emergency. I feel like I'm withering away. So by all of this, I'm guessing I was having a bit of withdrawals, which meant I was a bit addicted to sugar. Even though I don't eat things like cereal for breakfast, a sandwich for lunch, and a ready-made meal for dinner, the foods I'd been eating on a regular basis, which I'd considered to be healthy, had added sugar in. It wasn't a lot of added sugar in each of these foods, but it all added up. And I was on this constant 12-hour cycle, mackerel for breakfast, lemon sardines for dinner, over and over again. So I'm guessing that my body would have got used to this constant release of added sugar. And then I stopped, and it's probably why I ended up feeling the way that I was. Sugar is a deep, deep, ancient craving, and don't I know it? Okay, to make my weekend and my week next week more exciting, I've scoured the Waitrose website. By the way, I don't normally shop at Waitrose. I don't have enough money for that. And all of these chickens don't have added sugar. So this is why it's quite easy to be addicted to sugar. Added sugar is in so much food these days. And it's in so much food because food manufacturers know it tastes good and that our body and brain responds to it. Our taste buds detect the sugar in the food, which then sends a signal to the brain to release dopamine. And that feels oh so good. So if food tastes good and we get that pleasure response, then of course food manufacturers are going to keep putting added sugar in their food because then we keep on buying it. The one benefit I could see from me experiencing those withdrawals and those intense cravings were it's almost as though I'm entering into the next level. So I have to get through this sticky phase of my body not relying on these things. And actually I'm even more motivated than ever because I know that if I had sugar now, I would go all the way back to where I was and I would then have to do those 5 or 6 days again. During the first 10 days of the challenge, I learned that my taste buds and brain were literally changing. Our taste buds have a life cycle of around 10 days. So during that time, they kind of go through a reset and become accustomed to lower levels of sugar, which then makes fruit taste even sweeter and become more satisfying. and the brain becomes recalibrated to lower levels of dopamine, which then hopefully reduces the cravings for sugary food. Me and Mum are off to a barbecue. It was suggested that we bring pudding, and I want to bring a pudding that I can eat, so this is what I'm taking. A fruit platter. Oh wow, that looks so good on camera. I hadn't realised this at first, but doing this challenge was giving me an opportunity to pause before eating. I used to think of eating those foods and that was all I could think about, that instant reaction. But now what I do is when I think about eating those foods, I think about the reaction then, but I also think about how I'm going to feel half an hour later, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours later. I wonder if I'm going to be able to completely or almost completely avoid sugar in my future. That's what I'd like, but I don't know how realistic that is. This next bit, it's a sponsored section, but stick with me if you can, because I genuinely found this a helpful tool during the sugar-free challenge. I've been paying for Headspace, the meditation app, since 2017, and I'll put proof of that on screen. I mostly use Headspace for the sleepcasts, which are nighttime stories to help me fall asleep.
But now everything that could be done has been done.
But it was during this challenge I discovered that Headspace has a number of short meditations related to food. These meditations are only 1 to 10 minutes each, and it doesn't mean that I have to sit cross-legged in a quiet room burning incense. I just listen to them when I'm preparing food, or even better, when a craving hits.
Even right now, before you eat each meal, just begin by taking a couple of deep breaths. Notice what's the storyline that's driving the eating. Is it a feeling of genuine hunger? Is it one of boredom? Is it one of distraction, of habit? At this stage, we're just sort of gathering information. We're starting to better understand how and why we eat the way we do. And if we can eat with our full attention, then things really begin to change quite quickly.
If you're not familiar with Headspace, it's primarily a meditation app with meditations covering many things to help with life's challenges. And it's a massive resource for mindfulness, calm and focus. If you're keen to give Headspace a try, you can get 2 months free with the link in the description, or scan the QR code with your phone camera. I'm filming 2 videos today in the centre of London, and then I've got the weekend at my dad's house. I think that this weekend's going to be a bit tricky. I would really like a snack because I've just been in the car for 2.5 hours. So I'm going to need to rely on finding something from the shop. So let's see what we can do. Another food I hadn't expected to have sugar in was sushi. And this was where I encountered some of my biggest problems. I'm in London Bridge train station. It's been quite difficult to find a high protein, sugar-free, unprocessed snack. This is what I've come up with. 2 packets of 2 boiled eggs. So that's 22 grams of protein. And I got some walnuts, 2 figs and a couple of slices of mango. Visiting friends and family's houses for food when doing this is tough. We've got some beef for our dinner, and it looks fantastic, but the dressing has got sugar in, which I'm gutted about because it looks amazing. But we're staying strict to the challenge, but we have got some chicken thighs, voila, which have got herbs and spices on. There's a part of me that says, oh, let's cut the underneath off that hasn't got the dressing in. But I think it'd still be cheating. It's just easier not to. We've come this far. By this point, I was surprised. It was pretty easy to resist the dessert, and I had fresh mango instead. Amazing. So ripe. And I even managed to confidently say no to the chocolate. I didn't have that magnetic pull and that desire for it like I'd had in the past. Was this me starting to make a breakthrough? From this point, the challenge started to get easier. The cravings were going, because it turns out the biggest cause of wanting to eat sugary foods is eating sugary foods. I feel as though the challenge is going well. I'm thinking about sugary treats way less. And just when I thought I was getting the hang of this and finally making my breakthrough, over the past week or so, my cravings for sweet food pretty much disappeared. I was having my 3 high protein, nutrient rich meals a day and I felt great. However, I'm on my period and I can't stop thinking about delicious, tasty snacks. And I was just hoping that this feeling would have gone by now. And when I think about it, a 30-day sugar-free challenge is a bit of a gimmick really. I've been eating foods with added sugar in for probably 40 years and I expected to change in just 30 days. However, 30 days is a start. It's an opportunity for improvement and it does seem that my body was slowly starting to change, and I look forward to telling you what happened as a result of me doing this. This is an interesting concept. Today my computer mouse broke and I've got a really important deadline and I really needed to get home today and do my work. So then I've been watching YouTube videos on how to fix it and it's just not working. I do feel quite stressed. I know it's good problems to have, but now I've got to drive to the nearest big city, which is quite far out. One of my instant thoughts was, when I'm out, I want to buy some food to cheer me up. Something sweet, something delicious, something tasty. It was kind of an impulsive, instinctual thought. And then it just got me thinking, in a stressed state, I'm looking to sweet, sugary food to make me feel better. Even the thought of having that is like, so I'm surprised all these days and weeks that I've been feeling really good and then something happens fairly small and it's this automatic reaction of wanting something to ease the discomfort of my stress. In a way, I'm grateful for the broken mouse that's led me to these thoughts and realisations. Oh, got the mouse working. Means I haven't got to go out and buy a new one and I won't be tempted by sugary treats. Oh, that is a good feeling. It's my last day on the sugar-free challenge. I have a plan on what I'm going to do tomorrow and in the future. It's 2 days after the challenge has finished and I just went out for lunch with my friends. It was much easier for me to not have dessert. Usually we would all have a bit of cake, but I genuinely didn't want it. The thing that has been interesting is I've just popped to the shops and it's the weekend. Usually I would buy some chocolate or a treat, let's call it. However, there was that initial reaction, a habit that's been ingrained into my brain for all of these years, that it's the weekend and I'm in the supermarket, let's get a treat. But I paused and thought about my intentions for going there, and so instead I bought us some fruit. And the way I feel at the moment is I would like to keep this up for life, however, not be so regimented and strict, whereby if it's in a salad dressing or I'm at a friend's barbecue, then I'm not going to be worried about things like sauces. But cakes, sweets, those tasty treats, and now I can think about how I'm going to feel after, and then it makes it so much easier to not eat those things. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to keep it up, but that is how I feel at the moment. I feel as though I've tried to do this so many times in the past and I failed. But now, rather than it be a challenge, this is almost as though my mindset has shifted, so it makes it so much easier to say no to it. It's been 51 days since finishing the challenge, so I've been continuing to do this because it's had such a positive impact on my life. I do still get cravings on certain days, but they're not as intense and it's much easier to resist the temptations and I make better choices. As a result of my blood sugar not going up and down all the time, my energy is way more consistent throughout the day. My mood is better, way better. My head is clearer, and these ones surprised me. I'm less irritable. My tolerance is higher with myself, with others, and in stressful situations, and I thought this was a coincidence, but my dad, who also did the challenge, experienced the same. Hey Dad, what have you noticed as a result of not eating foods with added sugar in?
The main thing I noticed was more energy in general, both mentally and physically. Problems that arise at work, I just find much easier to deal with. By not eating those foods, it just gets easier and easier to not eat them, as opposed to in the past, it'd be nothing to go through a whole pack of biscuits or something.
Maybe it's in our genetics that we eat entire packs of biscuits in one go.
And something interesting to note, as a result of not eating foods with added sugar in, it generally means not eating as much processed food. And with less processed food comes less calories, which is why my mum, who also did the challenge, lost 3 kilograms of body fat in 1 month. 3 kilograms. My taste buds have changed, and I know this because I ate 2 Maltesers at a party the other night, and they were so sweet and sickly. Does that mean my brain has recalibrated and I've gone through some kind of dopamine reset? I've got no idea. However, I'm no longer in autopilot and I can easily say no. I want to make informed choices about the foods that I put into my body rather than relying on food manufacturers of what they want me to put in my body. Have you done the sugar-free challenge? Perhaps you're tempted to give it a try. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experience about it in the comments, because I know there's lots of different opinions. If you liked this video, then YouTube thinks you're going to like this video too.